Does the media have an impact on crime patterns? According to my research, the answer is yes. The media is always seeking new ways to capture people's attention through newspaper, magazines, movies, shows, and even commercials. Movies can influence people in different ways. When a movie or TV program ends, the effect it has on a person does not stop there. It causes behavioral change in the individual. For example, action films. Action films equals heroes, and heroes equal violent acts. Children tend to look at those violent acts acceptable behavior because the hero was successful. This is sending a wrong message to kids about their heroes. Another example is cartoon programs. There are a lot of them out there that aren't good-natured. Some of these programs consist of acts of violence as well as being deceitful against others. In this case, children tend to copy the characters and think deceiving other people is a way to cause problem and that it is okay to do so. Another example is the copy movie pattern mentality. This is a small list of things I found that people had done or continue to do after seeing it done in a movie. A teen committed suicide because her favorite actress did it. A male individual set a subway ticket booth on fire because he saw it in his favorite film. One thing I was disgusted by is that even rape cases happen through imitation of television shows and movies, especially ones that portray college parties. These cases are becoming such a huge topic in our society because of how often we read about them in the media. A few years ago, there was a trend in the media that was known as the knockout game. The purpose of this game was to knock out someone cold at random. These groups of people were looking to see crime for their own entertainment. This became trending on social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc. This was covered in many news outlets where the game seemed to become increasingly glorified. Many people in our society would participate in this global crime, while you had the rest of the society fearful and not knowing if it was going to happen to them. All the behaviors and crime patterns that I explained bring me to Albert Bandura's social learning theory. Albert Bandura explained his social learning theory as people learn from one via observation, imitation, and modeling. Some important key terms to remember are modeling, reciprocal, and determination. Bandura created a model that categorizes individual behavior in 4 different components. The first component is attention. Attention is described as various factors increase or decrease the amount of attention paid. The second component is retention. Retention is remembering what you paid attention to. The third component is reproduction. Reproduction is described as reproducing the image. The last component is motivation. Motivation is described as having a good reason to imitate. All these components correlate with the impact media has in crime patterns in our society. The literature review I believe that coincides with my research question is Packet 10, Cognitive Dissonance in Socio-Psychological Theory, and our media section, Packet 12, McQuill's Mass Media Effects and Gerbner's Cultivation Theory. I am still undergoing some last-minute research to tie some loose ends that I will be able to further explain in my paper. McQuill's Mass Media Effects article is what had me come up with my research question. Upon looking up online scholarly sources for answers to my research, I posted my question on my Facebook status to see how many people agreed or disagreed and asked them just to give a brief explanation as to why they gave that answer. I expected to get all yeses for answers, and the majority of them did say yes, but to my surprise, someone chose yes and no for an answer. My first response was a yes and no, because she feels that the media does a lot of repetitive stories and they find more in different areas. The second responder said yes, because any wacko sees stuff on TV and wants their 15 minutes of fame. The third responder agreed with him and mentioned the copycat mentality, and the last responder said how shooters and mass shootings seek fame and it's become a trend, but now the trend is not to say the name. All these individuals had mentioned at least one thing in their response that supports my supporting evidence for my topic. This topic had interested me because of the increasing criminal behaviors our society seems to face over the last 10 years. For example, mass shootings. It seems like it's becoming more of an epidemic more than it ever has been before. I wanted to see how much of an impact the media has influenced not only the shooters, but other people who perform criminal acts to snap. Questions like, where do they get it from? Why do they do it? Were there any signs of this behavior prior to this incident? I found it interesting how much influence our television shows and movies affect people, and especially in our children, and how crucial it is to monitor what they watch because, like I said, not all children programming is good natured. In conclusion, our society is drawn to the news and media, whether it's happy news or tragic news. For some reason, programs that have more violence in them tend to captivate an audience, yet we face similar tragedies in these shows that become our reality. The media basically shows us crime and how to execute that behavior. We won't see change until programming like this stops people from being intrigued. As long as we have media, there will always be an imitation of criminal patterns for two small words: seek fame.